Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the GenAI CIO podcast. And I really cannot believe we are already at episode number 22. Uh, I've been joined in by Shiva, who's the founder and the CEO for Lyzr, where they're actually building a lot of interesting stuff on the GenAI side, including autonomous agents. Shiva, thank you for joining us. Rishabh, this side, founder and CBO for GoML, where we're actually building very custom solutions for our customers powered by GenAI. This week, and I know I think Shiva, we've skipped probably the last week, but I think we'll be covering a lot of news in this week for our listeners. And I think the most important news to begin with, obviously, is the launch of the Omni model from GPT-4o, right, which has taken everyone by storm again, right? What probably they are claiming, and I'll probably get into the details of the demo also that was actually leveraged to launch this. But what they're actually claiming is to be the most multimodal or truly multimodal model from the GPT series yet, right? Now, what do we mean by that, right? We've already seen that, GPT-4 and GPT-4 Turbo have been offering voice-based capabilities. You can actually interact with these models with your voice. You can actually use images to interact with these models, right? With so obviously you can generate videos, etc., right? So it already is a multimodal model, right? But what happens today is that when you actually interact with any of these GPT models, leveraging your voice, there is a model that's actually leveraged to convert that into text, and then the text is leveraged to probably get intelligence from the backend, right, from the intelligence system. Then that actually comes back, and then probably it's converted to voice, right? So that's what's happening today under the behind the curtains, right? But with GPT-4o, what OpenAI claims is it's a true multimodal experience that they're giving, which is when you interact with this model through a series of through a combination of voice, videos, images. It's a singular combination that has been converted or probably used to probably generate instance instead of conversion happening and then probably the intel coming to you, right? Honestly speaking, Shiva, I think it's one of the most impressive demos that I have seen since the time obviously GPT was launched, right? Where it's a real time interacting. It's literally the Jarvis moment that I actually could experience with the demo. Obviously, it's while Foro is available for you to experience with, you can try it out. We've started using it in a couple of our use cases. The voice capabilities are yet in not even in beta mode yet, right? What OpenAI is claiming, it's in alpha mode, so not probably ready for deployment. But the model aspect of it, which you can start leveraging at least from intelligence perspective, right? So your thoughts, Shiva, if you've tried it out.
Yeah, no, I've tried it out, and GPT-4 Omni, O stands for Omni, actually is receiving a lot of criticism also from the general users because there is not much of a difference in reasoning capabilities, which is what Sam Altman has been
Exactly.
promising for quite some time. But from a developer standpoint, because we are building agents with these LLM models, there is a massive advantage that Omni brings in. Like Rishabh mentioned, like you mentioned before the Omni release, if we are to say build a chatbot, imagine using PDF documents, and the PDF documents may have images, text, um, and say some sort of tables.
Yeah.
What happens? We used to use a parser first, like an unstructured or a llama parse, to actually parse these data, and then use GPT text, the GPT-4 Turbo for text reasoning. And that was pain because now you need to use GPT vision model and GPT text model. Even to GPT vision model, you need to connect both the data points because GPT vision is not natively like capable to reason. It can write, you can see an image and write some context, but the context may not be relevant to GPT text. But Omni has removed all of this, issues, right? So we don't have to worry about how will GPT read an image that is there in a paragraph. Omni removes that natively because it knows that the image belongs to that paragraph and it automatically reasons, right? So actually a fantastic approach. There is also an architecture, uh, I would say a fan-made architecture that's going around on how these GPT-4o works. Pretty much the same. You have mixture of experts like what GPT-4 Turbo had. you had multiple mixture of experts, but there is another layer after that, which is acts like a router, which routes images to the image model, audio to the audio model, video to the video model, and text to the text model. So eventually, at the bottom of it, it is still separate models, but the logic or the intelligence comes at the router that GPT has built in. Before this happened, we used to build the routers. We used to build these routers, which kind of takes care of the load balancing and routing. The GPT has built it, which just makes the whole experience easy. I did cover about GPT-4o in one of my LinkedIn posts. I think to me the most exciting feature is the screen share feature,
Yes.
where you can use the Chat GPT desktop version and share the screen and kind of uh, get feedback, real-time feedback. I mean, really good for stockbrokers, students. I think they are the two folks who are kind of getting immediate, doctors also, like medical professionals. They're the ones who are getting some immediate um use out of GPT-4o. But I'm not saying this is a great release because we were expecting something much, much bigger. Uh, but still, definitely from a developer standpoint, it made our life a lot easier.
Okay. I agree with you, Shiva. Like 4.0 probably, as as at the beginning we also discussed, right, is it's not as is probably one of the best models to probably, or an upgrade also probably from the previous models to probably consume. But it's a way, and we're not covering Astra in this, podcast, but we'll do that in next week's podcast, which is Google's answer to 4.0, apparently, right? But I think what this is now painting up or moving us rightly into the direction is of agents, right? As Shiva, you also highlighted, right? So it's a good step towards now building agents, how probably these GenAI agents will start powering each of our, lives, your enterprise models, etc. So it's a good step towards it. Honestly speaking, Shiva, when I was actually looking at the demo and when you pointed out that screen share piece, right? And a big fan of Marvel, by the way. I immediately, right, I went back to where, Tony Stark asks, and he's actually placed the picture on the screen, and he asked probably about Thanos' children's with Jarvis, and Jarvis instantly starts answering. Right? So I went back to that. So it was like a Marvel moment for me, and that's why the demo definitely sounds impressive. Good step, but as you rightly mentioned, 4.0 probably in the current state is not a big upgrade from the previous models.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
So moving to the next one. Like I was saying, from developers, GPT-4o was a fantastic release because it just made our recently launched. I think the timing was perfect. We just launched from Lyzr. We launched a fully autonomous AI SDR. SDR stands for Sales Development Rep. We launched it. It was running on GPT-4 Turbo. It runs on Anthropic's Claude 3 Opus. It also runs on Gemini Ultra. GPT-4o just made it even more capable. So AI SDR, which is an AI sales development rep, can automatically, all you have to do is just connect with your CRM or upload your CSV file. It can automatically do research about the lead, understand, when you write an intelligence report, customer intelligence report about the lead for about 5 to 6 pages, then it looks up your product information, whatever you're trying to sell or position, and looks up customer data because it's already built a report, and then starts composing emails which are hyper personalized for the customer, trying to address a pain point that the customer may have because based on the research, and then starts writing to the customer. It keeps following up. It can do follow-ups somewhere between 5 follow-ups all the way up to 100 follow-ups. The agent can also call the customer. After 3 or 4 emails, it can call the customer and say, "Hey, I've been trying to reach you. Did you get a chance to see my email? Can we hop on a call?" So we have voice agent. We have text capabilities. It can also send an SMS, can send telegrams. All these integrations are possible. And the agent works with one single intent, which is to book a meeting for the company, for the sales manager. The intent could be changed. You can change the intent to say download a white paper or join a webinar. But I think most of the customers who come on board who are using it for appointment meeting, meeting bookings. So, but Lyzr, we are able to bring this to life thanks to our customers also who've been patient with us initially in testing the whole thing and improving. Because Lyzr is the full stack agent framework company where we do backend, the middleware, the data layer, and also the front end, the apps, it makes it easier for customers to adopt. If you haven't tried, head to lyzr.ai/Jazon, Jazon, Jazon, and give it a try and book a demo if you want to know more about it. So that's all about it.
Absolutely. And obviously, your team is now implementing it for Goem and Shiva, right? I'm expecting it to probably at least save 30% of my time because, most of my time today, or probably your time also, Shiva, goes into prospecting, understanding what users are, CTOs and
100%.
CIOs are building on thinking, right? So really looking forward to it. Great update. And again, the iterating what we just stated, it's going to be all agents based deployment, right? So really looking forward to using this at GoM and Shiva.
100% fantastic. Let's bring this to life. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right,
Let's
moving.
free humans from let's free humans from mundane work.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly speaking, if I and I've been into sales Shiva, for almost what a decade now, right? 8 years of that have been with you. Uh, the worst part of my job, I love interacting with CIOs, I love interacting with CTOs, I love interacting with new prospects. But the worst part of my job that I really find, honestly speaking, is probably reaching out to folks and finding about on LinkedIn or probably email and so on and so forth. So if you can solve that for me, you already have your market.
Hmm?
All right.
What else?
Great, great. Moving on, Shiva, OpenAI obviously, has been in news for Foro as well, but for certain other reasons, while we'll probably cover, the other reasons, the sky as well. But what has lately happened is that they've seen a lot of leadership exits, right? And this has been going on since obviously the Thanksgiving saga that started with Sam Altman, right? Uh,
Hmm.
Now, what has happened lately is that they've really, the team that they started almost a year back, right, or probably less than a year back, which was the super alignment team, which was supposed to focus on the regulations or security of these models, right, to probably slow down the pace at which they're also launching, right, has been disbanded completely with the exit of Ilya Sutskever and Jan leak, sorry, my bad. Now, obviously, Sam Altman has been very, very vocal about he doesn't want the models to be slowed, right? The release or development of these models to be slowed down in any way. And he's been very bullish about the investments as well that he's making on the GPU side, training side, the data side, and so on and so forth. So this again probably marks or probably moves in the same direction as Sam has always probably proposed is, and while obviously we don't know what happened internally, but Jan Lee did mention in his post on X that his team has been trying to move against the wind for the last 1 year. They've not been getting the right support to implement the right practices from safety and regulations perspective. Right, so this definitely is disturbing news. We really don't know probably how this will help. This will probably work with GPT. But again, this aligns well with what Sam has been saying. He doesn't want any of this to probably stop from the overall model deployment perspective or alignment perspective.
But there's an alternate view to this. Jan Lakeman, who's the AI researcher from Meta, the guy who's trained Llama models, there's another theory that is emerging that what if, obviously, what if they were pushed out of OpenAI, not because there is some safety concern, because there is no safety concern. There is nothing super wrong, and these guys were just continuing to kind of harp on the point that, hey, something is terribly unsafe and stuff, but actually there is nothing unsafe. So there's an alternate view, Rishabh, that is emerging as well. That what if there is nothing much? What if there is not much harm, like all of us were actually thinking originally? What if there is actually not much harm? Yes, the open source models and even I mean, ideally that is the open source models are being used already by a lot of scammers to scam people. We have seen that. Even the closed source model like GPT are able to trick the model to write scam emails. So a lot of scammers are automating stuff using AI. But other than that, some wild, grave possibilities that were discussed, they're not happening. You and I know because we are working
Yeah.
closely with customers, taking a project to production is like crazy difficult. But working with these undeterministic models,
Yep.
non-deterministic models. So that's the alternative that is emerging.
True.
That what if there is not much of a safety concern, and the safety team was actually pulling the team down.
Exactly.
So yeah,
That's
that's the
what
alternative.
Sam has also been very vocal about, right? And see again, Shiva, if we really look at it, right, the whole and this is just again, I'm just supporting the view that you mentioned. Probably to a certain extent, as you rightly mentioned, the way that we had really anticipated that we'll reach AGI in the next 1 year or 2 years, right? And then probably the jobs would be taken away, etc., blah blah blah, right? Safety concerns and so on. So probably it was more hyped, right? The battle around this whole piece probably might have, or probably we've already won that battle because look at probably what Elon Musk also started with, right? That he probably criticized OpenAI to an extent where he stated that they've really lost their purpose the way they started. Now they're more monetized. But look at what they are now doing with X, right? He's also got getting massive investment probably to build, although he still promises he's going to keep this open source. But at the end of the day, they're also probably looking to power this across Twitter and so on and so forth, right? So again, I totally agree with you. Probably all this safety, etc., was super hyped. And again, based on our experience as we've iterated in our previous podcasts as well, I would probably take example or bother example for what cloud says, right? Cloud implementation say. It's a
Hmm.
joint responsibility. It's not just the model developer or model owner's responsibility. When we implement it, it's the implementation or probably the partner that's implementing as well as the customer's responsibility to ensure the right guardrails are being put into place, right? So I agree with you. I mean, again, might have been slowing down what happened internally. We don't know, but it's not that disturbing a news. All that how it's going on in the media, honestly.
Not at all. Not at all.
All
And
right. Sorry, go ahead,
what's
Shiva.
next? So yeah. I mean, if you see OpenAI and controversy is something that goes hand in hand. I think more than anyone, Sam Altman loves that a lot, I believe, because they say, right, there is no good publicity or bad
Yeah.
publicity. Any publicity is publicity. So the recent Scarlett Johansson, OpenAI saga is something pretty interesting from a marketing standpoint. I'm not looking at it in any other way. And I did make my comment as well on that. So what really happened here? OpenAI launched in the GPT-4 Omni model. They had this fantastic voice of the OpenAI, which was interacting with the demo provider. And the voice pretty much resembled Scarlett Johansson's voice. She also did a movie in 2013, a movie called Her, wherein we had the movie also featured Joaquin Phoenix, who was the lead role, and he supposedly falls in love with this AI voice, which is like a Siri type on his phone, and like how he starts building a relationship with that voice, and that's the movie named Her. So immediately after the demo, when people all were like kind of saying, "Wow, fantastic," Sam Altman also made this tweet called Her, H-E-R. He actually just tweeted Her. He kind of, I think he wanted to give everyone the vibe that, hey, this is like that actually, right? It's as good as that. Then now later news emerged that Scarlett Johansson was surprised and shocked to see that her voice was used because apparently Sam Altman had reached out many months before asking her to lend her voice. Then she said no, due to personal commitments. And very recently, just like I think 2 weeks before the launch, again he reached out. Again she said no. And then for her to see this voice coming out, she was really surprised. And then I think she's gearing up for suing OpenAI. Meanwhile, OpenAI has released a statement just yesterday that there is actually a voice actor who was hired to use the voice. They've named it as Sky. OpenAI has named this voice as Sky. There's a voice actor who was hired to do this. And the voice actor was contracted well before Sam Altman reached out to Scarlett Johansson. That's the current state of the situation. However, if you go to Reddit threads and read about it, there is something that's emerging, a news, which is there have been several such scenarios in the past where a celebrity's identity, I think Nike or Walmart, one of them did that as well, where celebrity's identity was was used, but without their permission
Yeah.
with another voice actor. Even though now here in this case, and the case and the rule has always it's always ruled against the company, organization, not
Correct.
against the
The
person,
laws that's
celebrity of the person. Exactly, right? Here in this scenario, why OpenAI is at a disadvantage is because though they would have hired the voice agent earlier, the fact that Sam Altman reached Scarlett Johansson makes it very clear that he wanted to use her voice. Period. He had always in his mind to use that, and he also went to a step further and tweeted her, which is like probably this is the Meera Murati's moment of commenting to the YouTube thing. When the journalist at Bloomberg asked, "Did you guys use YouTube videos for Sora?" She she just like skipped the whole thing,
yeah.
and the same thing happened with the CEO also. The OpenAI CEO was on an event at Bloomberg. The same question was asked, and he did not answer. So this is a similar moment where Sam Altman mentioning her on tweet is like crazy. So long story short, there are two sides to it. One, all of what we are seeing is absolutely genuine. Scarlett Johansson is actually pissed off and she wants to sue OpenAI. Or what if all of this is just a very wild marketing stunt? Because involving somebody like Scarlett Johansson, a top Hollywood actress, will probably take ChatGPT to even farther set of people. ChatGPT will now be known to more and more people now because of this controversy. So it could be either of these two. We've seen things like this happen in the past as well, where it will all start as a controversy, but at a later stage it was realized that it's just a large marketing
Gotcha.
gimmick. What if Scarlett Johansson and OpenAI settles for out-of-court settlement, which are none of us have know about the details, but what if this whole marketing gimmick would have just led OpenAI to more people? So that's my take. But yeah, this is the
No,
the
I think
whole drama behind
Shiva, you've
Scarlett.
covered it beautifully. Just one last point from mine. Since then, since Scarlett Johansson obviously, mentioned that she's shocked, OpenAI immediately took off Sky, right? So that's another point, which goes against them that if they had not used Scarlett Johansson's voice, then probably why did they immediately take it down? Right? So yeah, I mean,
But what if that is also part of what if that is also part of the whole
exactly.
setup?
So I'm not denying that,
Taking
Shiva.
it away,
As you rightly mentioned, no
yeah, no,
publicity is bad either for Scarlett Johansson or while obviously she's a superstar, but or for ChatGPT, right? So I totally agree with you. It could all be a farce, right? That's at that level, but yeah, just as a point.
like taking it away and bringing it back in.
Yeah.
What if that is possibility?
I mean, we might probably, a couple of months down the line, we might just say, okay, Scarlett Johansson now aligns with ChatGPT. She had discussion, she met Sam Altman.
Exactly.
Now she aligns with, and she's going to allow Sky or she's going to actually lend the voice. So we never know that, right? So, all right.
What's
Finally, out of OpenAI, Shiva, Meta obviously, although not a big update, but just to probably keep the innovation belt going on, they've actually launched a model called Chameleon, right? While we haven't tried it out, right? But what they're actually claiming with Chameleon is one, obviously, it's open source. As Meta is continuing to doing through its model building strategy, but what they've mentioned is that it's a true multimodal AI model to what Gemini and now Foro obviously is claiming, right? Now, what is the difference probably in the new release that Chameleon brings in from multimodal perspective is generally you the multimodal models that have been in the market, unlike the ones that Gemini and Foro now are, have been late fusion models. Sorry, right? What does that mean is, as I think we covered earlier, you get inputs from different areas, your voice, vision, your video, etc., etc., right? And then probably once you've taken these inputs, then you start probably understanding these and probably converting these, tokenizing these, etc., right? What Chameleon claims is that it's an early fusion model, which is before you start interpreting it. Right? Oh, sorry, while you're interpreting the results, at the same time you're actually tokenizing and understanding the inputs from different areas, which is your voice, etc. Right? So yeah, so again, this is trained on close to 4.4 trillion parameters. That's what Meta again claims. It's supposed to be fast and it's supposed to be working very well with vision inputs, like vision and voice inputs, sorry, right? So yeah, so I think again, while not a, I really don't, again, Shiva, see Chameleon being implemented heavily in our enterprise or probably actual production use cases. But as a concept, definitely this brings in a new terminology.
Yeah, I think the same concept, the way if you remember the architecture explained for Omni, it's the
Yeah,
same
exactly.
process. It's all about bringing an intelligent router because if the LLMs build themselves, the capability of the router is far much better.
Yeah.
Good to see that Meta has launched it. I haven't tested it actually. We need to test and figure
Even
out
I,
how
yeah,
close are they. Yeah, probably then
absolutely.
we will be able to know whether this is launching it just to keep the frontier models like OpenAI at bay, or are they actually did really crack it the way OpenAI is
I
cracking it.
still think, again, while I'm not commenting on the capabilities, but at least from the scale perspective, I don't think so. It's as near to probably anywhere as near to Astra or Foro. But again, probably let's try it out and then we'll get on with it, right? Uh,
Cool.
with that, again, a very small announcement. While again, everyone knows Amazon Bedrock is the managed service from Amazon, probably one of the most powerful, most flexible across the hyperscalers to run your LLMs, right? We leverage it, obviously being an AWS advanced consulting and GenAI competency launch partner, we leverage Bedrock across our implementations. But they've now expanded, the number of models that can be there. So one change that has happened now is that while they've looked at the biggies till date, you have your Anthropic models, in fact, exclusively Anthropic models on Amazon, right? Then you've got Meta models, then, you've got your other, even Amazon, native like Titan models and AI 21 lab models. They've now allowed or supporting Cohere models as well. Cohere primarily R and R plus models, which are, so if our listeners are not aware, Cohere R is primarily their RAG pipeline model, right? And R plus is a more advanced RAG pipeline model, which primarily also cites inline the source, right? From where you've actually, something similar to what Perplexity also does, uh, where the response has come in, right? So these are the two models that Cohere brings out of the box. Now these models are now available on Bedrock as well, right? So how this actually helps, our CIOs are probably, consumers as well. Again, Bedrock is, and we've, again, as I mentioned, we've leveraged it is probably one of the easiest and one of the simplest, managed services to implement. Now you probably can experiment and implement your Cohere models as well to try it out. Right? So, yeah, so good update again, more from flexibility perspective.
I think more kudos to Amazon Bedrock for continuously launching some really good models that can be used. I mean, imagine just a few months back, it was completely unusable with the older Claude 2.1 and the Llama 2. These were the only two models available. With the Opus 3 and Llama and then the Mistral
Mr.
release,
Models,
I
yeah.
think Bedrock had taken the game really seriously.
On
So
that
that's
matter,
good.
Shiva, we are seeing a lot of
And
adoption on Sonnet as well. Like when we started, right, we thought probably Opus and Haiku, because Opus is still expensive, or it's more expensive than Turbo, and now obviously with 4.0, like bringing the cost further down, it's an expensive model. It's a powerful model, but it's an expensive model, right? As an alternative for a lot of SMB and startup customers that we're doing, Sonnet brings in I will not say exact accuracy, but brings in a good amount of accuracy, but at an affordable price, which is much cheaper than 4.0 as well, right? So yeah, so again, as you rightly mentioned, with these models, Bedrock is now becoming more consumable across.
I mean, and one thing probably for our viewers to understand, what is the big deal about Amazon Bedrock? It runs locally
Yeah,
within AWS, within your VPC, logical VPC, which means which your private cloud, which means your data does not leave your private cloud, right? And that ensures compliance, default compliance with all the compliance that you may need, if GDPR, PCI DSS, whatever that you SOC 2,
we
etc.
we are using it for
That's
life sciences and healthcare customers. Shiva, you are aware of it, right? So yeah, so absolutely right. I mean, from data privacy perspective and compliance perspective, and that's why I started talking about the most flexible and easily usable solutions here. Correct.
yes.
All
Next
right.
up, we have what Anthropic. Yeah, Anthropic's new prompt generated tool is pretty cool. Actually, at Lyzr, we built magic prompts. If you head to magicprompts.lyzr.ai, you'll be able to try our tool as well, which follows the best practices that I mean, it follows a research paper that was launched by a bunch of researchers about the best practices around prompt engineering. Anthropic is also pretty cool because Anthropic's prompt generator makes it easier for folks to work on Anthropic. Uh, your naive one-line prompt will be converted into a high-quality prompt. They still do not use React. I would still say probably the best prompt engineering technique, the one that's even better than chain of thought, is React. It's still not React, to be honest, but for one-shot analysis, instead of using your own prompt, try improving that with Anthropic's prompt generator. You will actually find it much more fun. So that's something that I want to highlight to the
Brilliant.
audience.
With that update, just one addition, Shiva, again, more from adoption and flexibility perspective. Anthropic has finally launched their iOS app as well. Right, it's a welcome use for people like me, right, and you who use iPhone. So finally, you have flexibility. You don't have to always open up the browser and probably start leveraging. You can actually use, or you can download the app and probably start interacting as well if you have an account with Anthropic, right? So yeah, good updates from Anthropic. What next, Shiva, from Google?
So Google DeepMind has introduced a safety framework, and then Google DeepMind, if you all know, they were the original builders of transformers. They've launched their own safety framework similar to Meta's Llama Guard, but this is a frontier model, which is it's not open source, you don't get to know what's happening behind. But their idea is to actually research critical capability levels of all the LLMs that are out there in the market to highlight, to kind of figure out what are the models that kind of nearing harmful capability thresholds so that it can kind of rate models which are which are still safe, but some of them are nearing harmful thresholds. I think these guys might have some idea about how big Gemini could be. They are kind of sensing some early issues with some of the open source models as well, or even GPT-4. We don't know about that. But that's what Google might defend us. I mean, it's still very early for us to comment about it because we need to try it out. But having said that, are customers really bothered about today is a different question that we need to think about. My answer is no, because customers are still trying to figure out how they can use it or even what it is, what LLMs are, how to even use it, right? Imagine it's like bunch of aliens dropping from the sky and all these aliens look like cute teddy bears and all we are trying to do is trying to figure out how to play with it. Uh, we still don't know whether this teddy bear turns into a monster and eats you, or the teddy bear is actually super cuddly and makes you fall in love more. We don't know about that. We are in that stage right now. So customers are really not too bothered about, say, the security aspect. So yeah, but anyway,
So
Google DeepMind got to do what it got to do. So,
absolutely. And as Shiva was reading this HFS report that Genpact has jointly published, right? Uh, well, obviously, as you mentioned, probably a lot of these use cases are exploratory and they're trying to figure out how to leverage LLMs. But the report probably is a little, or probably was very aggressive in stating that all the enterprises have around 2 years before they lose it to their competition if they don't leverage GenAI in their day-to-day operations, right? So, so yeah, so I mean, again, at the beginning when as we discussed, I don't think so. Safety at this point is at probably at the highest level of consideration for most of these enterprises. It's losing to the competition, as the report also says, right? So, yeah, I mean, although good update, but again, as you like you mentioned, I don't know how well or how well adopted or what's the priority right now for such use cases, right? So. All right, from Google to Microsoft, and just a
hmm,
bit of a refresher for our listeners. If you remember, earlier this year, a company called Cognition Labs had launched something called as Devin, which was stated to be the first AI engineer, software AI engineer. And as a lot of times, or probably a lot of questions that are actually coming in, how is it different from GitHub Copilot? Right, or even Microsoft Copilot for that matter, because they also help in coding tasks, right? So, obviously, Devin primarily is stated to be an end-to-end AI developer, an AI engineer who can actually do everything that an AI engineer can do, right from project planning to project plan creation to probably, deliverables to actual coding development, test plan creation, etc., etc. Whereas your tools like GitHub Copilot are more assistants who can actually help developers in doing certain set of tasks across, right? Like code reviews, etc., and so on, right? Now, what has happened is Microsoft has signed a partnership with Cognition Labs to bring Devin to to Copilot offering that they have, right? Which now means that you have a powerful assistant as to something what you were actually leveraging as a GitHub Copilot, which now integrates with Devin, right? So your tools get integrated with Devin to probably support you across the software development lifecycle, right? So it's a definitely good update. How again, a lot of, and again, there was a research report that I was reading, Shiva, where the concern that most of the developers across have raised is that 70% of the time, the code that is developed by these models is not consumable, right? But where they've seen these models to probably contribute very well is in support tasks, right? Like probably reviews, right? Probably correction of code snippets or generation of snippets, not end-to-end code, right? Or interpreting code and so on and so forth, right? So again, integrating Devin with the tools, powerful tools that obviously Microsoft brings across the software life cycle is a welcome change. But as I highlighted, probably the code generation or end-to-end code generation might not be, at least at this point, but these models might not be very powerful with, right? So Microsoft has been, releasing updates around this a lot. They've integrated Foro already with Copilot and so on, right? So, but yeah, let's see how this works out.
No, see, I think we need to continue to understand that it's just going to get better.
Yeah.
Devin will continue to get better. They're valuing themselves at $2 billion. So these guys are going to raise ton of money, crazy amount of money. And like each one of them takes something, right? For example, Devin has taken it to the heart that there are no more developers jobs.
Yes.
Devin will do it, right? At Lyzr, we have taken it to the heart that the concept of one person company. How do you achieve it? Only with autonomous agents that can do a job end to end. And that's why we keep releasing these role agents.
Correct.
At GoML, I think from what I observe from outside, the fact that you guys are super focused on solving customers' problems, business problems with generative AI text. Now, because of your vast understanding of the whole generative AI framework, all the way from fine tuning to RAG to building prompt engineering, and you're able to bring solutions faster for your customers and solve their business problems. So we all have one purpose to go after. I think we need to keep that in mind that Devin has one single purpose to go after. I think that they will eventually get that.
Absolutely. Agreed. All right.
So
What's last, Shiva?
IBM has made their model open source, the Granite code models. It is similar to Code Llama. I incidentally just spoke to IBM team a couple of weeks back, and they did mention about Granite models and its adoption. So just great to see such a large giant like IBM entering the foray of open source models. It just shows the fact that open source is probably a way to develop customer or developer confidence and also enterprises confidence now. Enterprises are also kind of area of enterprise model. They also need an open source alternate as well. We won't be surprised if GPT at some point in tomorrow launch one of their older models as an open source model, possibly, or a variation of their model as open source model. So anyway, that's just a quick update from IBM. Nothing like obviously
AI democratization.
The results are not out yet.
AI democratization,
Yeah.
That's what all of us are looking for. All right.
Yeah, the results for Granite code models are not out yet, so we cannot probably kind of think about it right now. But yes, just something that even IBM lost.
All right, great. All right, that brings us to the end of this episode. Thanks, Shiva, for joining in again, and really looking forward to our next episode where we'll also cover Astra from Google's I/O and a couple of other updates from Google's I/O conference. All right, and till then, take care, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks everyone for listening in.
Bye.
Bye.